সেই নাম্বারে যোগাযোগ করবেন অথবা সরাসরি তাদের শপে চলে আসবেন। তারপরে এখানে লিখতে হবে খুবই স্মল সাইজ এই যে এখানে দেখা যাচ্ছে একটু অন্য ডিজাইন কতদিন পর্যন্ত লিখতে হবে এগুলো আপনার লাইফ টাইম রাখবেন
Hello, Shima. You turn your mic on so I can know that you're here.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Shima. I'm good, thank you. You can turn it back off. I'm just doing a check-in. Thank you. Hi there. Hi, is that Rahima? No, hello. Rahima, your mic's still on. Hi there.
Hi, I'm Roxana.
Hiya.
Hi.
People are just starting to join.
Hiya.
Hi there. Hiya. Everyone's camera shy today.
I'm hoping the camera closing because
Hello, hello. Hi, Afia. Hi, everyone. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Gail. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Hair looks nice like that. It's different.
Yeah, I got it cut. It's a bit
short,
but yeah, it's good. It's a bit of a shock.
Cool. Oh, I've been growing mine.
That's what I was doing basically. I have been this short before, so it's not too short.
Hi there. We're still people seem to be joining automatically, which is good, so I don't have to keep letting people in. But we will try and start. Where are we on time? We will start in a moment. But I suspect people are still dialing in. I've got a lovely picture of someone's glossy cabinets or pictures. Is that Chowdhury? Your microphone's on. Right. Okay. Right, I'm going to start because obviously people are giving up their time this evening and I want to try and start promptly. This is being hi there. This is being recorded. So if you don't want your face to appear on screen, then I suggest putting your video to just your name. Can I ask everybody, until I start introducing everyone, if you can have your microphones off, and then it will stop us getting echoes and funny noises. That's brilliant. Just looking at the screen, I think everyone's microphone is off at the moment. Okay, I've got two people with the name, and there's Afia Chowdhury and then there's Chowdhury on the screen, and the one that's Chowdhury, their microphone I believe is on. If you could switch up, that's it. Fantastic. Okay, I'll begin. Hello, my name's Gail Wallace. Some of you have already worked with me and come along to different forms of training. Tonight is the application training, and we're going to be recording this so that people who aren't able to attend can see what it's all about and get the same information. But equally yourselves, even though you've come tonight and joined me online, sometimes you don't remember everything, so it's quite useful to have the link and go back and review what we've gone through. I'm going to just quickly go through. We've got Shima here. Now I've got here EE, Roxana, Bibi or Bibi. Do you want to turn your microphone on for a second, just to so I know? Hi there.
Hi.
What do you prefer to be known as?
Roxana.
Roxana, thank you. All right. I've got Anis, I've got Ambe, Rahima, Chowdhury, Hawa, Kusama. I'm not sure how it says Chilho's iPhone. Would you turn your microphone on for a second and let me know how you prefer to be known? No?
Yeah, it's Chiho.
Chiho. Okay,
Chiho,
thank you.
yes.
Thank you. And then we got Susan, we got Shahida, Afia, Wada, and then I've got a lovely, on my screen, it says 73 Bab. Would you turn your microphone on, 73 Bab, and let me know how you prefer to be known?
It's Barbara, Gail.
Hello, Barbara. Just to confuse us all, eh? Hi there. All right, glad you could join us. Okay, I'm going to share my screen in a moment, and basically what we will be going through is what you would have gone through if you'd come in person to one of the in-person application training workshops. Sorry. Okay, I'm just doing a signal check. Amy, can you see all of that on the screen?
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to go through the application process. At any point, if you could either put your hand up or just interrupt me. I'm happy for you to interrupt if you need to. And if you've got a question, because I'd rather capture your questions as you make them. Amy, if you could just keep an eye out, or Barbara, if anyone puts a hand up or indicates they wants to talk and I miss it, please just shout in and let me know, because I would hate anyone to be burning to ask a question and get completely ignored by me because I haven't spotted them.
Yeah, and the chat, anyway, I was going to say, if people want to put questions in the chat as well, I can always read them out.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so hopefully you've had a little time to consider what your application and your project's going to be. Today is about walking you through the key things that you'll need to know, not just for this application process, but for any application you would want to put in. This training session is to really break down the application process to the very, very basics, and hopefully you'll find it useful for any future applications you may be putting in. So the first thing, we will move on from welcoming introductions, if you don't mind, because last time I did that, it took half of the session to get round. There were so many people on, but welcome everybody. My name's Gail Wallace, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm leading on this particular Community Voting Day initiative. It is a participatory budgeting approach to funding, and it provides a real opportunity for local people to decide how that money is spent in their local community. And I'm really pleased to see so many people on screen and the number of people that have come to the application training workshops, which bodes well for the actual Community Voting Day event. So this is what we're going to cover. We're going to look at the funding criteria. We're going to look at what can be funded, and what cannot be funded. Every funding opportunity that's out there does have its very own rules and regulations about what they can fund and what they can't fund, and this is no exception. This is public money, and the public health team have to make sure that it meets the criteria that they have set, but not just their criteria, but also the criteria that the local community has set in terms of what their priorities are. We'll look at the key questions you need to answer about your project to ensure you answer all the questions on the application form. Then we'll look at what next, and then the support that's available. Okay, any questions so far? Everyone okay? I'm going to take your silence as being everything's okay. Mary, oh, your mic went on. Did you want to ask me a question, Mary? Are you okay?
Oh no, I'm okay. I just saw him.
All right, great. Good to see you. Okay, so who can, the funding criteria is people or individuals who live within the community they're applying to can apply. Residents who don't live in the community, but they can demonstrate they've got strong links to the community they're applying to, are also eligible. Organisations that either must be based in the area they're applying to or already working with the community they're applying to. But for those, they must have a resident from that community sponsoring or endorsing their application. So a local residents will basically say on their application, I know of this organisation, I am endorsing that they're a good organisation and we'd like them to deliver a project in the area. But those organisations must have an income, an annual income of less than £100,000. We're really encouraging smaller organisations to take part in this. The sums of money are appropriate for a smaller organisation to apply and deliver in. So the project's costs that will not be considered in your application are these. Funding the running costs of your group or organisation, i.e. if you're already paying for rent, gas, electricity, water bills, any kinds of maintenance costs, including the maintenance of equipment. So if you regularly have to have equipment, say electric equipment, PAT tested each year, we won't be covering those things because those are things that you should have costed and budgeted for as part of your everyday running costs. They won't fund any activities where you charge a fee for people to access that service. So activities should always be free at the point of source. So if I came along to one of your dance classes as a local resident, I shouldn't be expecting to pay anything towards that, unless perhaps, you know, I wanted a drink and you didn't provide it for me. That would be an exception, but I certainly shouldn't be paying to take part in the class. Items that only benefit individuals, for example, bursaries and equipment that is not shared. So I'll give two examples. You might want to run an IT access course and you might want to buy a couple of laptops or a laptop. That laptop, if you buy it, should go back to the local community. And an example of that would be, it would be stored at a community centre for anyone to have use of. It can't be for your own personal use. The same is true of if you were running a sewing group and you needed a sewing machine. It would be okay to put them down as a cost to run the course, but those sewing machines would then need to be in a place that's freely accessible for the local community to access in the future, i.e. stored at a community centre. And if I wanted to run, someone wanted to run another sewing group or be part of a bring and fix event, I should be able to go to that community centre and book that sewing machine out to use at the community centre. So it can't be for anything that someone individually receives. The one exception would be if you're running something like a walking group and you want to buy these Fitbit, cheap Fitbit watches, so that you can monitor how well people are doing and how much walking they're doing and how many steps. You might, as part of your group, want to incentivize people, and as a reward for taking part, they get to keep and own the Fitbit. That's a small expense, and it encourages people to keep on with that activity for the future. You can't apply for contributions to salaries. So if you're already being paid to do one job, this funding is not to sort of give you 20% of your salary and make that up and make the difference. That doesn't mean you can't engage tutors to deliver. You just can't be paid for doing the job you're already doing. Activities that promote political activities or religious belief, either of which exclude some sectors of the community, so they can't be funded. We can't fund the cost of your fundraising activities. So in other words, we won't be paying for someone to buy 500 printed leaflets with a donation slip on it for you to raise more money. And you can't be funded for things that have already started before the community voting day. This has to be for follow-on. Now, if your group or activity is about to end and will end before the community voting day, that's an exception. But it can't be, we quite like doing this, we're carrying on doing this regardless, but we'd like some additional money to carry on what we're going to do anyway. Any questions so far?
Hello.
So go.
I have a question. I don't understand this one. In activities that charge a fee to the general public?
Yes. So basically, if you're putting on a project, anyone who comes to that project shouldn't be paying to attend your project or your activity.
Okay.
Your funding should cover the cost of those people coming. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Mary, you have your hand up.
Oh, yes, please. Thank you. And I just want to ask a quick question. I don't know, maybe it's part of the question, but it's just in case, let's say, for instance, I managed to get the funding of £2,000.
Yes.
We didn't finish the £2,000.
Yes.
So what should I do with it? Should I bring it back to the community or, yeah?
So what do you mean you finished the £2,000?
So maybe we still have left more money and then the section is ended. Do we need to extend the section more, or?
Well, what I would say is the detail of what you cost should all be included. So if you're going to run 6 weeks and you've budgeted for 6 weeks, there shouldn't be any underspend. So you should only really apply for what you need to deliver the project. So if you have applied for if you think that what you're going to put on is going to say be £1,500, then only apply for £1,500. The 2,000 is a maximum, but that doesn't mean that you have to apply for 2,000. Some projects might apply for as little as £250. Just because, you know, do you see what I'm saying? So the maximum is there to say that you can go from 0 to 2,000, but it doesn't mean you have to apply for 2,000. You can apply for anything in between. And we would actively encourage you to only apply for what you actually need to run your project for. Because let's put it this way, if I were a project and I was only applying for £500, and £500 would be enough to deliver all of what I wanted to do in my project, and another project applied for £2,000 but only needed £1,500, I might lose out on my funding because someone's applied for more than they need. So to be fair to everyone, only apply for what you actually need. It's very tempting to say, well, I'll apply for the maximum, but it's better to more accurately apply, and that means that more projects get an opportunity to get funding than to estimate what you need, and that means other projects can't get to deliver because the pot is 11,000. When that £11,000 is gone, there is no more money. And if on the community voting day you're lucky enough to have got all of your funding and the other projects haven't got any funding, and then a couple of weeks down the line we find out you don't need it, or a couple of months, that's a real shame for other projects. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah. And
thank you, Mary.
Question, sorry. You said on number 7 on the booklet. So it said it is a single. I don't really understand that. It's like it is a single event or it is a regular event. So if you can explain that more, please.
Absolutely. So a single event might be, do you know what? I just want to put on one event in the summer holidays for everyone to come to. It's going to be on the 12th of July and it's going to be a big community celebration, and I'm going to have health people there. We're going to do activities. That's a one-off event. A regular event might be, I'm going to run a weekly walking class, a physical activity class, a knit and natter class, a coffee morning, but I'm going to do it regularly for 3 months and we're going to meet weekly. Does that make sense? Okay. So I've got, thank you. Roxana, you have your hand raised.
Hi, so I would like to start a new project. So I haven't got a venue, so I'm not paying any rent, or, if I wanted to pay myself for running would that be appropriate or not?
What I would advise you to do, Roxana, is if you're doing it as an individual,
yeah,
then you should approach a sponsor organisation, a local community organisation, to be your nurture organisation. Work with them to put your project together, and they can identify you as a deliverer of the project. So in other words, if it's I keep using dance classes, but say you were a dance instructor and you were putting on dance classes, you could be engaged to deliver that part of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And would that be the rental and everything like that then as well?
Say that again.
So like the rental of the space that I want to run art workshops.
So the rental of the space, the equipment to deliver the art workshop, the hiring of the tutor should all be fully costed.
Okay.
And then the sponsor organisation would be responsible for paying the rental cost, ordering the equipment that you've identified, paying the tutor, whether that were you or other people that you got involved in the project.
Great.
So the funding would go to them. They would be the accountable body, and they would be responsible for paying out all of the aspects of the project that have been put in the application form.
Great, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Have we got any other questions? What just while I'm no? Okay. Oh,
sorry,
I
can I
hear
ask a
voice.
follow-up question on sponsor organizations?
Hi, Lucas.
Hi, Gail. It would behoove me to acquire a sponsor organization, because it's quite odd for me to be going to youth centers by myself, asking for quotes and having to explain that I'm there with no sponsor organization. This is the first time I've heard of the concept of a sponsor organization. I'm wondering how you would recommend going about getting one.
Well, Barbara and Amy and the rest of the team have identified a couple of sponsor organisations. So I'm going to suggest that either Barbara or Amy in the chat puts their email details in there and drop them a quick line, and they can identify ones for you. Is that okay?
Sure.
And you're okay with that, Amy and Barbara?
Yeah, I think, Lucas, have you been speaking with Leoka directly? Is she in your area?
She has messaged me today. She said she had last week.
So she would probably be, I think that she's in your locality, but I'll put mine in the chat anyway, and then we can take it from there.
She would count. She would count as a foster.
Yeah. Yes, she does the same as me and Barbara. Yeah.
Oh, okay, understood. Okay, and it's her and one housing. Okay, then I might be sorted then.
Fantastic. Roxana, have you got another question, or is that a trailing hand up?
I think it's a trailing hand up. Sorry, I'm not familiar with Zoom.
That's okay, that's fine. I think on the where is it? I think where it might be participants, I think you need to just find your name and take the hand down.
Okay.
That's fine. I just didn't want to miss your question if you had one.
Great, thank you.
Is there anyone, Mary, have you got a question?
Is there any a deadline to submit the form?
Yes. Is it double checking? It's the 25th, isn't it, Amy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
25th, yeah.
So it's the 25th of November is the deadline for all applications to be submitted. Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay. So we'll go on to the next part of this, and that's why is it more inclusive as a form of funding. Other funding has been top down, and this is bottom up. This is the community who actually decide. So the application forms will come in on the 25th, but all that will be being checked is that you've sort of dotted the I's, crossed the T's, that you've calculated and costed your project appropriately, that all the sums add up, that if you're applying as an individual, you've got a sponsor organisation and they're endorsing your application. That in addition, if you're working with children or vulnerable adults, you're signed up and we get a copy via your organisation of your child protection policies, your safeguarding policies. Just checking the detail that anyone who comes and is involved in your project will be as safe as they possibly could be, because you've got everything that we need in place, which also includes, we've got an idea that you've got good financial procedures and policies in place. Now, if you're applying as an individual, we'll be looking at the organisation, the sponsor organisation's financial policies. But if you're applying as an organisation in your own right, that should all be there. What we're just making sure is that we're not issuing funds to individuals with no safeguards in place to protect the funding, because it is public funding. It puts the community first in deciding what's right for them. You will find out on the community voting day, the first one taking place on the 14th of December and the following ones the following year in January. On that day, when you come and present your project idea, the community will vote and you will find out there and then if your project has been successful. It encourages the community to be involved from the very start, and actually the themes that under which you can apply have been chosen by the local community, and it puts the power back in the community. Now, what I'd like to emphasize, two things. Firstly, children who live in the area over the age of 11 can take part and can vote. It might be their first real opportunity to see how democracy works. They can also, if they're part of a youth group under their youth services, can apply to run a project, and they'll probably do that through their youth centre or the organisation. It could be the Scouts or something like that. And I would actively encourage anyone who's applying for this funding to be talking to people in their local communities now and encouraging them to take part in the community voting day, because every one person that comes along means a vote for your project, but it also means a vote for the other projects too. Lucas, your mic's on. Have you got a question for me?
Oh no, sorry. I'll
That's okay.
myself.
That's okay. It's fine. So who can bid for funding? Oh, we've done that. Why are we doing that? What's the criteria for applying? Access to health and wellbeing services, access to information about what's going on, social connection, anything related to healthy food, community safety, the cost of living, but also in a couple of areas, there are slightly different criteria, but that will be on the application form of the area that you're applying to. What I do need to let you know is you might have a great idea and you might think, well, do you know what? This could work in Poplar, but it could equally work in another area too. You can apply to other areas to run your projects. You do either need a connection in those areas or to be endorsed by a local resident to run that project. You can also put in more than one funding application. If you've got a couple of really good ideas, we want to hear about them. We want you to put an application in. There's no guarantee that one or all of them will get funding, but there's no harm in putting in an application form. Any questions? Are we okay to go on? Yep. Oh, yep. Cool. Thank you. So who decides? The residents do. To be successful, the keywords are recruit, recruit, recruit. Get as many people sitting on the seats at the community voting day as possible. It's in your interest to get as many people who know about your project, like your project, and want to vote for your project to be in the room on the day that the votes are cast. I'm just, oops. Now, I think I've made a huge mistake here. And I think I've gone through the wrong form with you. So bear with me a second, because I'm sounding like I'm repeating myself, and what you actually need, if you bear with me a minute, is a completely different one. And I don't know why. I just found myself in a moment of going through a previous slide. Right, let me just find the right one.
I'd just also just say that there's a question in the chat from Chowdhury about the maximum budget available and also about the areas that we cover. So the maximum is 2,000, and then I'm just putting in the chat now the areas that we're covering and the contacts. So just it'll be in about 5 minutes that will come into the chat. So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, thank you. Bear with me for a moment. What have I done? Sorry, bear with me for a moment, because I think I've repeated one that shouldn't be there. Right, I now have the right one. My apologies for that. And we'll start at the right place. Okay, all of that information was still relevant, but my apologies for not sharing with you the correct slide. Let's start again. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let me just get this up on screen correctly. Can you see application foundations? A thumbs up or a wave? Can anyone see that?
Yeah, I can see that.
Brilliant. Okay, let me just get it in the correct area. Okay. So you said there was a couple of questions there. Sorry, apologies.
No, it's fine. I just the one about the maximum amount, which was 2,000, and then I'm just saying to Chowdhury that I'm putting in the areas that we cover and the contact details right now, which applies to everyone. So I'll
all right, brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, so the key ingredients to always think about when you're putting in any funding application form, whether it's this particular source of funding or any other ones that you may come up against in the future, are these key questions. I'm going to go through them initially, and then I'm going to demonstrate why they're important on your funding application. So the first one is why. So the key question to think about is look at your project and consider why your project's important, why there's a need for it. Is it a lack of physical activities? Is it poor health? Someone mentioned they're doing art classes. Is this about mental health and well-being? And will that address a desperate need that we have in the community? This is the opportunity to really lay out your stall and say, this is why this project's important, and this is why there's a need for this project in the area. So you probably have seen recently on the television and radio, they're promoting 20 minutes in nature because of the beneficial effects of being outdoors and in nature. You might be proposing a project that is about that. I know Lucas certainly is looking at that in terms of young people and giving them additional opportunities to play basketball or football or any other kind of sport. So when he's considering his project, why his project, Lucas's project is about the fact that the lights go out, it's darker evenings, and the kids are still trying to play football on the local enclosed pitch. And Lucas would like to provide additional lighting to ensure that they can carry on doing that and they can do that safely. So he can lay the argument that this is about health and well-being, keeping children active, and off their screens, and the engagement that they'll have with one another, learning about team spirit, all sorts of things. So when he's mapping out why his project, that's where that would sit. And he's identifying a need because he's saying, you know, it's great that they're playing out there, but it's probably not the safest environment. If they're trying to play in the dark, they're more likely to clash into one another and have accidents, and so on and so forth. So the next question is who, and that question is, who is your project aimed at? Is it men? Is it women? Is it young people? Is it particular communities, or people who find themselves in a particular common situation? One of the projects that was proposed when we were talking about project ideas was first generation grandparents who come over, who are looking after children of their children, their grandchildren, can often feel quite isolated, are not very familiar with how things work in England. And this person was suggesting having a kind of regular get together, you know, a coffee and a chat and a catch up with native speakers to help them feel more socially included. So that's a kind of common situation. That's a group that you can neatly say, you know, fit together. So in your project, consider who. Now, my cautionary note here is, don't think if I include everybody, men, women, young people, certain communities, that I'm going to be more likely to get funded. If you're really passionate about one sector of the community, whether that's men or women or young people, then just put that particular category in. Then the other part of who is who's going to be delivering it. Is it you as an organisation, or is it tutors that will be commissioned in? Is it an organisation that you're going to bring in? So you're writing this project proposal, but you've identified a really good organisation that you want to be the deliverer. And then the last part of the who question is Who else needs to be involved? Is it partners? Are you going to bring particular organisations in to speak on particular topics? Or is it going to be a dual project? You're going to deliver perhaps, I don't know, a physical activity, but every other week or once a month, you'll bring an organisation in to talk about mental health and well-being, or do relaxation classes. Just consider those in your who question. I'm just going to stop for a second and ask if there's any questions. Are we good? Okay. So the next part is what? What will you be delivering? And Mary asked this question: is it going to be regular classes in, say, physical activity or mental health and well-being? Is it going to be a one-off event, like bringing the community together to celebrate something, or to share cultural cuisines and traditional dresses and all those sorts of things? It's going to be talks, information, or something else. This is what you say is, this is what I'm going to deliver. It's going to be a series of workshops, and at the start of it, people may not be very fit, but by the end of it, they'll feel more fit, they'll feel fitter, they'll sleep better, they may have learned about healthy eating. This is really where you lay out roughly what's going to happen in the duration of your project. And then also the what is, what might you need to buy? For the lady who's doing the art classes, it might be paper, paintbrushes, craft equipment, a whole manner of things, but it also could include refreshments, because you want people to have a soft drink while they're there. You might be doing trips, so you might want to cover the cost of fares for people. It might be protective clothing. If you're doing gardening, you might want to get gardening gloves or Wellington boots, and those sorts of things. There's one lady I know who's doing a project, and she wants to have Wellington boots of varying sizes, so that if people come along and they don't have them, there are some boots there in the community centre or in the community garden that people can use while they're there. And they'll stay there for other people who want to do gardening in the future. And then this is the really important thing: what funding do you need? As I mentioned to Mary, cost all the elements fully, including things like room hire, hourly rates for staff, volunteer expenses, everything you can possibly think of. And when you think you've exhausted that list, when you think you've written down everything you can possibly consider for that project, go and show it to someone else and ask them if you've missed anything, because it's better to make sure that everything is included in there than to not have included stuff and then find you need some additional funding later on, because the amount that you apply for is the only sum of money that you'll receive for your application for your project. And if you've underestimated and you run out of money, unfortunately there's going to be no additional money in the pot to support your project. There's also, what's important to consider as part of this, is to allow a small amount of contingency. The bit of funding that I might need that I might not have considered doesn't have to be a large amount. It could be anywhere between sort of £10 and £50, but just that little bit of wiggle room that allows you, if you've forgotten something and it's desperately needed, it's enabled you to do that. And if you don't spend that £50, what you could do is say, at the end of the project, we're going to get tea, biscuits, cakes, and have a little celebration on that. And that would be perfectly fine to do. But it also allows for a very special part of the community voting day that I always like to do, and that's called the give back. There may be 1 or 2 projects that are at the bottom of the funding that don't quite have enough funding to carry out their projects. This is the point at which you, as a project who has allowed a little bit contingency, can stand up and say, I'm the Healthy Walks project. I've applied for £500, but I'm going to give back £20 to help the project at the bottom. That means that your project funding goes down to £480 and the project at the bottom of the list goes up by £20. So allowing this contingency allows you this generosity and this supporting other projects in the community. And then, as I said, what else? Please, please, please do check with other people if you might have missed anything. We're only human. It's very possible that you think you've got everything and then someone says, oh, what about this? What about that? What about rain max? What about, I don't know, plastic sheeting to cover some artwork that you need to dry outside, whatever it might be. Any questions there? No? Oh, Mary.
Yeah, thank you. What if we can fit in the space and we still got more things to write?
Right, so you've got a hard copy there. There's two answers to that. If you do it online, there's no limit to how much you put in. If you're doing it handwritten or typed on a hard copy, on the section that you're filling in and you need to put more in, so say it's section 9, at the bottom of section 9, when you've run out of space, literally put C attachment 0.9. Then you can attach additional blank sheets that you've written the additional information on, but make sure you number them so that it links to that question. Yeah, good question, because obviously the spacing is very small and you'll probably need to write much more than the spacing has allowed. So if you're doing a hard copy version and you run out of space, put a little note saying please see attached, and then attach additional sheets but number them, and more importantly make sure you clip them, staple them all together, because so that your sheet is all together and we can take a look at it in that respect. But very good question. Thank you, Mary, for asking that one. Okay, so the next thing is when. We've kind of covered this, but we'll go over it. Is it weekly, fortnightly, one-off event?
Hi, Gail. Can I ask a question?
Yes,
sorry, I did raise my hand.
Sorry, I can only see part of the people. We've got quite a few on this, so please do jump in if I haven't caught you. It's because I can't see you on the screen, but please do ask your question.
Okay, I just wanted to know, we are a TRA, so
yeah.
you know, like for rental, like say we're planning to run Pilates classes, so you know,
yeah.
for the space hire, can
yeah.
we claim for that?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. If you need to hire a space to do your Pilates classes, then you cost that in. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Oh, great. Sorry, please, if I haven't, if your hand's up and I haven't caught you, do shout. Shima, is that you asking a question, or is that a trailing hand?
That's a trailing hand. Sorry, I'm going to put it down.
Great, thank you. When's it going to be? Consider things such as times too. Are they going to be AM, PM, evenings or weekends? Now my suggestion here is, if you've already identified some people in your community who you want to attract or are likely to take part, do a little poll with them and ask them when the best times are for them. Then, armed with that information, you can go to the community centre or the hall or the organisation that's got space and say, have you got availability on, say, a Wednesday evening between 6 and 9? Because you've already got the information from the community, you can then start negotiating with the centres. And I would suggest that you start the process of talking to the community centre hall space that you want to hire now, and get them to provisionally pencil you in. So if you're lucky enough to get funding, you've not only got the funding, but you can then go back to that organisation and confirm it as a firm booking, and you won't have any scary surprises that they haven't got space for you. So as well as the buildings, you may wish to consider other sites. Lucas isn't in a building. Lucas is in he's got identified 2 enclosed spaces that have got basketball hoops and marked out and would be appropriate for football or other sports too. So this is where you just tell us where you're aiming to do it. You might be doing walks in local parks or fitness sessions. You might be doing picnics in the park, regular get-togethers for mums and their children. It might be to places that you're hoping to visit. So you might have a series of places that you think would be really good for people to get out and about and see outside of their local community. We don't need to know every single place you're going to go to and when and what time and so on, but it would be really good to say things like, we want to do 6 visits out. These are the places we're considering: Kew Gardens, the Tower of London, I don't know, the Shard. I'm just making this up at the moment, but just roughly say we want to take people to varying sites, and these are the ones that we're considering, and we may pick 6 out of the 10 or 20 that we're suggesting. So we've gone through the 6 questions. Where do they fit on the application form? And hopefully this will be the useful bit for you. So I've copied up the application form and we'll be able to go through that process together. Whoops, I forgot that I've got that additional. So the first thing you'll see is the very basic stuff: your name, your contact details, your connection to the community, that you either live or work or run an existing group in the area. Fairly straightforward. The second part is about your project. So as you'll see in this group of X's, there'll be a list of different themes, and you just tick one or more of them. So if it meets one like community safety, you tick that that's the theme that you're applying on, but under. But like Lucas, it might be community safety and it might be physical activity. Tick 2 boxes, that's fine. List your project name, and you can be as creative as you like. Give it a really nice, attractive project name. And there you'll see the who question comes up. Who's going to benefit from your project? How many people? Now, my suggestion here is always underestimate and over deliver. So rather, you might think, oh, if I say 100 people, then they'll be really impressed with that, and they'll vote for me because I've said lots and lots of people. It's better to say a reasonable amount and over deliver. So if you think your project could attract 100 people, realistically, don't put 100, put 60. If you then attract 70 people, you've over delivered. Perfect. But if you put 100 people and you only attract 60, it looks like your project's under delivered. So it's better to under promise and over deliver. And then here's the what question: what activities will you deliver? And that's where you just define, as we've looked at earlier, what actually is going to happen in your project. What can people reasonably expect to take part in? Then section 2 carries on. Why is your project important for the community? As we covered that earlier, the big why question. Why is it important? Why is there a need? Then when is your project to start? Now, all projects must start after the community voting day, but it could be that you just want to do a one-off event in July, or you might want to run a 2-week activity during the summer holidays. That's when you put down. It's going to start roughly. Might start in January, it might start in July, but please define when it's going to start and how often. As we've covered before, single event or a regular activity. And then this is the, oh, sorry, let me go back again. The other part is how long will your project run for? So from the point of being successful, you've got up to a year to deliver your project. You might be doing a once a month thing for a year, or you might be doing an intense 6-week program, 1 day a week, or you might be running something for 6 months, twice a week. That's entirely up to you to define. If it's not one of these categories listed here, but it's something else, you've got a space to just let us know. We got any questions so far? Is everyone okay? Okay. So the next thing is the where. We covered that earlier. Where you're going to deliver the project. It could be at one site at a hall, or you could be going on several visits, or it could be a local park or open space. Then the how much money you need to deliver your project. As we said, accuracy is important here. You might not have all the information available, but the 2 things I would suggest you do, firstly, don't quote any sale prices, because what's on sale now, we're going through Black Fridays at the moment, aren't we? So what might be on sale now may not be on sale when you're delivering your project. So it's best not to quote a sale price, because you don't want to get caught out when you actually start to deliver and find it's twice as much as you originally quoted. And also, some of these elements you might not know the exact price there and then. I would suggest you do a little bit of research. So if you're hiring hall spaces, but you haven't hired or aren't familiar with the cost of hall spaces at the moment, pick up the phone, ring 2 or 3 community centres, find out what they charge per hour, and go for an average price, or even go for the highest price, and then you know that you're going to have enough depending on which community centre you're working with. So your best guesstimate is what I'm going to suggest here, but do a little bit of background research to make sure that that guesstimate is reasonably accurate. As it said before, you know, apply for exactly what you'll need to run the project. You can apply for between £500 to £2,000, and it gives an example of how to cost everything out. And if you need any help and you get a little bit stuck on that, please do feel free to talk to one of either your local facilitator or to me, and then tell us anything else you'd like us to know about your project. Anything that you think is essential that people find out about your project. We will use the description you give of your project to go in the handbook that people will see at the community voting day. So it's really important that you get the key message across, because that will go in the handbook with how much you're applying for. Okay. So this is for nurture organisations, as they've called them, or sponsor organisations. They'll need to identify the estate that they're going to be working in. So we've put Lansbury East area. To confirm, if you're applying as an individual, that you have got an organisation, you tick that box that you're coming under. Oops, I've gone backwards. That's not good. If you have a nurture organisation, then please list all their contact details down here. If you're applying as an individual organisation, as someone said, they're from a tenant and residents association, then this is where you'd put your details, whether you are a charity or a constituted group. You tick the box, and then if you're working with children or vulnerable adults or just generally in the public, you would tick that you've got a safeguarding policy. They will want to see that at some point before you start delivery. If your project requires public liability and professional indemnity insurance, they'll need to see that. They'll need to see that your organisation has a bank account and has 2 signatories on it that are unrelated. They can't be son and parent. They can't be husband and wife. They can't be related in any way. Here's sort of basically the list, and equality and diversity. And I think there should be, although it's not listed here, but often now, unfortunately, we have anti-slavery policies as well that you may need to sign up and adhere to. And then this is the organisation when they're applying in their own right, the name of the organisation, oops, going forward and backwards here, the name of the organisation, the registered address, your registration number if you're a charity, and details about your annual turnover for the last year, so that we can ensure that your organisation fits the criteria we talked about earlier, and it's less than £100,000. Any questions before I go on? So if you're applying as an organisation, this is the section where the resident who's endorsing your organisation, you fill in those details to evidence that you've got some local support for your project. And then this is the last part of it, pretty much confirmation of the terms and conditions, that basically you are signing up to receive this funding as an organisation, and you can confirm that all of these things apply to you, that you'll be based, or your project will be based in the area that you said, that you have a local resident from that area who supports your application, and that you have an annual turnover of less than 100,000. So that's it. And here's my details on the screen, which you can gain access to. The slides will be available by email. And so too will this particular link to this training, because it's being recorded. But if you need to ask any further questions, just need to clarify anything, you can either talk to your local community health facilitator, and I know many of you have taken up that opportunity, so that's really good. You can talk to your sponsor organisation as well, get some additional support. Lucas, you've raised your hand, your question.
Could I just get a confirmation of the time that the voting will start on the 7th of December?
14th of December.
Sorry, 14th of December.
I believe that they will aim to start about 10 AM, but until I think the closing date's the 25th. All those people who've gone through the process will get a letter or an email confirming all the details, but it's likely to be for people to actually take part about 10 AM. But anyone that is coming to either present or be part of the event should really get in there at least 15 minutes or more before it's due to actually officially start. The reason being is that as soon as we get to the point that the first presentation is taking place, the doors will be closed and no one will be admitted after that time.
Okay,
so if you know people that tend to come a little bit later, 5-10 minutes, give them a false time. Tell them it's earlier. Tell them if they don't get in there, they're not going to get to vote or take part.
Don't call me out like
that. But it's likely to be, I would imagine, about 10 AM on a Saturday morning.
Indeed, and I need that knowing that exact date and time is going to be important to to tell people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is, if they come a bit earlier, I'm sure they can get a tea, a coffee, or some refreshment. So there's an incentive to arrive a little earlier. Thank you. I've got Roxana. You have a question? You need to turn your mic on if you're speaking to me.
Sorry. Where do you get hold of the application form?
They should be available already. I'm going to ask Barbara. Barbara,
so they're all ready to be sent out. Which community do you need it for?
I'm in Tower Hamlets.
Yeah. Have you spoken to any other facilitators at all?
I'm just thinking of the Teviot now because I didn't realize you needed someone, but because I already work with them for other things, I might approach them.
Great.
The Teviot.
All right. So, have you spoken to? Is it Fazana?
No, I haven't spoken to anyone yet. I didn't realize until this meeting that I needed someone, so I'm brand new to.
Oh, right. Okay.
No,
all right.
no,
So,
I think
your
we're at
email.
cross wires here. I think we're at cross. There's the organisation you need to speak to, Roxana. But what Barbara's asking is, have you talked to any of the health facilitators like Barbara in the area that you're hoping to apply for?
No.
Right. Okay. So, Roxana, if you would like to type your email address in the chat.
Yep.
Then I'm sure either Barbara or Amy will take that email and make sure that you are on their mailing list for an application form.
Yeah, I will send you the right one because they're all different in terms of the themes that you can apply for. Yeah.
Yeah. So just identify which area you're wanting to deliver in. So it could just be which community centre that you hope to deliver in, and they'll be able to work it out from there.
Great. I've just sent my email.
Perfect. Mary, you have a question for me? You need to turn your mic on, Mary. You're muted, Mary.
Sorry, I'm trying to do it. Sorry.
That's okay, no worries.
I just want to ask, I think you mentioned to Lucas that is it going to be in the hall? The vote day?
It will be in a hall or a community centre or as large a space as we can get.
Or it's not, it's going to be face to face, not online?
No, face to face.
Oh, okay.
So in that case, you need to come along to my presentation skills workshop, which I'm doing. I'm doing one tomorrow, and I'm doing one I think next week. I can't remember the dates. Hold on, bear with me.
Yeah, it's one tomorrow and one on the 14th.
Thank you. I was just going to check. So one tomorrow, one on the 14th of November. Just double check what I've got there. So the one on the 14th is at the Limehouse project, and that is from 9:30.
Okay.
Okay, so come along to one of those, or again, if you're not able to make any of those in-person workshops, I will be running an online one for you too, so we can go through the practicalities of presenting on that as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
Yeah, Gail, I've got a couple of questions, please, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
So basically, I think one of the questions was answered by Amy. I think it's broken down by ward, isn't it? Like the funding, like it depends on where you're living and things like that, isn't it?
Yeah, there are 8 areas
Okay.
that are. Sorry, let me just stop the sharing now. Right, okay, I can see you all on the screen. So there are 8 areas, and each area will be awarded £11,000 in the pot. I'm sure that either Barbara or Amy can list the areas. Is there a particular area you're hoping to apply to?
Yeah, so I live in the Devons Road area.
Okay.
So basically, the application is going to come through either Popular Haka Youth Board or a different one. But the question I had was with some of my colleagues was we've got a couple of restaurants in Devon's Road and stuff, and we were wondering, like, you know, as part of our sustainability and giving back to the community, we were wondering if we could run something from from our restaurant for the community. Is that a possibility, or?
Right. So, will the restaurant be charging for their space? Are they?
No, it's not gonna. We're not gonna use the restaurant as a space. We'll use the restaurant as just, for example, the brand. But the overall idea is more like sort of a couple of years. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, we ran like community event in the Lincoln Park where it was like open for everyone. So obviously, in terms of the food provided, the entertainment and things, will all be sort of scoped into the application. But we just wanted to know, can we run it as the organization being the restaurant, or does it have to go through a specific charity?
Ah, I see. Right. Sorry, I do see. So it can't be a private company where a director profits from the application.
Okay.
It has to be an organization that has a funding policy.
Okay.
In which there are at least 2 signatories and they are unrelated.
Okay, I've got you. So like a non-profit organization sort of thing.
Like a non-profit organization. However, let me qualify this a little bit further. If you, for example, are running the project, you're doing it through this not-for-profit organization, but part of it is you're going to provide catering for get-togethers. You would identify the cost for that catering, and then the not-for-profit organization could pay that the caterer to provide that food or drink based on what you've put in your project. Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. That's all clear. Just one last question.
Sure.
I missed that bit about the presentation. So I'll make about 3 different applications because 3 different ideas. But do I need to present those 3 ideas on at a certain time, or will you be presenting it for me?
No, you should be so lucky. I'm not presenting it for you. No, you would need to make 3 separate presentations.
Okay.
If you're nervous, you can get someone else to present for you.
Sure.
They're only 3 minutes, the presentation, strictly 3 minutes.
Okay.
We're not using IT. It's a verbal presentation.
Sure.
But you can hold up a picture or bring some people on. You know, in past ones that I've run, someone's brought some participants on, and they've done I've even had what's the capoeira? Someone did a capoeira demonstration to show what their project was about.
Okay, I've got you.
Yeah, you won't, if you're presenting more than one project on the same community voting day.
Yeah.
You definitely won't be presenting them one after another.
Okay, I got you.
We will space them out for 2 reasons. First, we don't want to put you under the pressure of having to present one, change your face, present the next, change your face, Secondly, we don't want to disadvantage you by people going, oh, he was up a minute ago and he's now applying for this one, he's now applying for that one.
Sure.
And the third thing is, if we space them out, people are more likely to remember your project as an individual project rather than it's merged into 3 projects.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Hopefully that's answered some of your questions.
No, that's all fine. Yeah. And is it going to be in the Devon's Road area, the presentation, or will it be like a place where everyone comes together? Or?
Well, we're trying to. They're trying very hard to make them as local as possible. But what I am saying to public health is, the bigger the space, the better. Because, for example, if you recruit 10 people to come, and every other project that's presenting recruits 10 people, then that's 100 people at least going to come to the community voting day, plus you as the project. But the likelihood is there's going to be more than that. You're going to do your very best to get as many people to come and vote for your project who live in the area as you possibly can, aren't you?
That's right, of course.
Of course you are. So, and that's what everyone else is going to do. So I'm trying to encourage the public health team to to try and find as big a space as possible. But I do understand that there are some limitations about people traveling, cost to travel. So the aim is to make it as hyper local as possible. But it may be that it's a larger space, but maybe just outside the area, if that's what kind of works.
No, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary?
You know, I'm sure most of us, and it's weekend as well. Are we allowed to bring children? Because if we don't have someone to look after them, is that...
Yeah. So in every community voting day, they're going to aim to have a creche space for the smaller children and probably a craft table or something for the older children. Please let the facilitators know as soon as possible so they can make sure that they have adequate cover for the children while they're there. You're welcome. Any other questions? Lucas?
Last question.
That's okay.
I know you've been eager to encourage people to submit more than one proposal for the day. But I imagine that there is one can take on too much work to with if they take one too many proposals, and thus each proposal they take on suffers as a result. I wonder if you've seen anyone who's tried to clearly make and organize too many proposals, and what you might suggest is either knowing your limit or mitigating your limit.
Yeah, I think my experience is, and what I would always advise is really do a sense check and think about the level of time that you will need to commit to each project. And that's not just the delivery. So if I give you a very basic example, many moons ago, I used to be a football coach and manager of a girls' football team. Now, you would think that that would require turning up on match day and encouraging and supporting the girls, and turning up, once a week to do the training with them. But actually, it was thinking about the training that I needed them to work on, giving them set goals, all of which is done outside of that time, putting on the training, then getting the match fixtures, then ringing around all the parents and checking availability and stuff like that, and then actually turning up on a Sunday early enough for everybody, making sure everyone had lifts, and then getting and playing the matches. So if I was putting this as a bid, I'd probably put the words like, training once a week and football once a week. But actually, outside of all that is a whole range of things that take your time and energy. So if you're going to put in more than one bid, think about all the other stuff that needs to go and be in place to make your application successful, and the time that it will take to do that. So it might be planning, preparation, even to the extent of putting chairs and tables out and packing them away after, and cleaning the kitchen, and whatever it might be. So you're absolutely right to raise that, Lucas. However, you may find that with the help of volunteers or with your actual capacity, you can do more than one project. Just do a bit of a self-check. But it's a very, very good point to raise, and I appreciate you raising that. Thank you. I've got Shima and Afia's hands up. I'm not sure if they're trailing hands or there's a question. I'll take Shima if you've got a question.
Gail, so on voting day, when residents come to vote, will they need some sort of identification, like to say that they're from a certain area?
Yeah, I'm going to say from the get-go, advise everybody to bring a letter, like a utility bill or something like that, that proves that they live in the area.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good question. Thank you. Afia.
Hi, Gail. Nice to see
Hiya.
you on screen. I saw you last couple of sessions as well.
Hiya.
My question is, if in your experience, if one person applies for multiple applications, have there been a situation where they've been successful for, let's say, 2 of them? And if they have, how do you walk them through or see them through that they're managing it well?
There will be a process with the health facilitators to do some sort of sense checking. Yes, I have seen people apply for more than one application and be successful and deliver those projects. But all through the process of your project, you'll be being checked in with your health facilitators. And if you have if you're doing it through a sponsor organisation, they also have a responsibility to monitor and ensure that you're doing what you've said, because they're financially responsible for the money that you spend and how you spend it. But one of the things that, and I will talk to the health facilitators about, I always recommend some wraparound support for projects. And it could be in many forms. It could be additional networking and training, but it equally could be just bringing all the projects together at key points during the life of this funding to mutually support one another and talk about the realities and if there are any issues, how to overcome them, and just generally keep the local support going.
Can I trail on another question, please?
Yes, of course you can.
So there would be physical presence of the sponsors and from your team as well to come and see that we're carrying out these events on a regular basis, or every week, or every time we have an event?
I can't say specifically. It won't be every time you have an event, certainly over a period of time, but I would imagine that they would like to attend at least one or two of the activities just to check in with you, see how it's going. Barbara's here. What's your vision, Barbara, of kind of how you'd like to monitor how things are going? Is Barbara still with us? No. Yeah, Barbara's there. But hi, Barbara. If you are speaking, you're on mute.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Having problems with the computer. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll check in just to see how you're doing and how things are going. So it will be periodical, and also obviously to make sure that you're delivering as you would like, and if there are any support. So it wouldn't be a weekly visit. And like Gail suggested, we will also try and get all the groups together every so often, so that you can all share what's going well and any support that's required.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to add to that, it's also in your interest to monitor for yourself, but also take pictures and find ways of monitoring how you're getting on yourself. So if, for example, you were talking about, I don't know, healthy walks, let's use that as an example, I would suggest you do a baseline and just ask a very brief questionnaire. How often do you go out for a walk? How do you find walking? Do you get out of breath? What sort of distance can you walk for? And that would be at the start of your project. And then halfway through, you might say, well, ask them, do they walk more now? Do they get less out of breath? Can they walk further? How do they find managing stairs? And take a little snapshot of those and keep that information, because it will be really good evidence of how people are doing whilst on your project. Or if your project is an arts-based project, some pictures of not just the artwork that they produce, but also a group picture of people taking part in an activity, and a little a sentence just from individuals. What difference does it make to you? How are you finding it? Are you enjoying it? Does it help with your stress? Whatever that might be. Does that make sense, Afia?
That makes absolute sense. Thank you. Just one last question.
Sure.
Leading from what you were saying about picture taking, are there any protocols in line about the do's and the don'ts about picture taking and publicity, for example, if we want to
Right.
put
So
them on Instagram and we open the page specifically for this project.
certainly, children, not without the consent of their parent or guardian.
Right.
Absolutely. And adults, I would ask their consent and just double check. And it doesn't have to be anything major. It would be, do you consent to you having your picture taken? Do you consent in it being used for publicity and promotional purposes, and getting them to sign to say that's okay. I will be talking to the team tomorrow about the community voting day event itself, the first one of which I'm going to be facilitating, and talking about that very question. So one of the things I do and suggest when I'm working with groups where there's a large number of people and you're taking general pictures, you can't possibly exclude everybody who doesn't want to be a picture taken of. But what I ask them to do is get like little red or yellow stickers that they put on, so that if they inadvertently get captured, there's a way that you can fuzz out or blur their image. So you can reproduce the image, but it blurs out their face or any distinguishing features. So that's another way around it. If you identify that someone's got, you spot the sticker on when you've taken a picture or something, you can edit the picture so that their face is not recognizable. Does that help, Afia?
Yes, thank you very much. That was really helpful.
You're welcome. Mary, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to ask, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Let me just ask. Sorry. Yeah. Maybe it's part of it. Because what I'm imagining in my head, I want like someone professional on that mental health to come and talk to us how we can manage our mental health, and in terms of parenting as well, how we can manage our parenting, something like that. So yeah. Does that cover it as well? You know, I don't know, maybe they charge for free, or there's some charity that do that, or it's something we need to give back to them when they come. So
well, there are organisations who are set up specifically for that. So I would firstly have a talk to the health facilitators, because they may readily have a list of organisations that you're talking about. Secondly, if they're already set up and funded to do that, it's unlikely they're going to charge, because that's what their job is. They may be someone who deals with parenting and mental health and well-being separately. The health facilitators are more than likely to have a list of different organisations, and it's more than likely that most of those organisations won't be making a charge to you to do that service, because it's part of what their job is supposed to be.
Can I just add to that, Mary? So in terms of the parenting, there's the Family and Children's Hub team within Tower Hamlets, and they deliver and facilitate a lot of parenting groups and activities, and I think they'll be more than happy to visit and have a chat with
Brilliant.
your group. Okay.
Brilliant.
So we can give you details for that.
Excellent. Any last questions? Do people feel that they can confidently apply what they've learned today to filling out an application form? A thumbs up will do on your screen if you can. You manage it. Cool. Brilliant. Okay. Any aspect, thank you very much. Any aspect that you come across and you're not so sure about, that's what myself and the health facilitators are here for. Thank you. So do call on us. You've got till the 25th of November, so there's plenty of time to have a chat. And there's no such thing as a silly question. If it's important and you're not sure, thank you, Mary, please do ask it. We'd rather you know and feel confident than to have questions that go unanswered and it affects you filling in your application. Anyway, it's been a pleasure talking to you all. Thank you for the thumbs up. I hope it's given you enough information. This is being recorded, so if you need to play back any of it, I'll be sending the recording to the health facilitators and public health team, and they will be able to make a copy available to you. It's been my very great pleasure to talk to you today, and I wish you the very best of luck with your applications.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, girl.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. You take care. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.